Hi, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I am going to try to talk about the most impactful book. I think it's the most impactful read I've read this year. I I have other favorites, and this is definitely going to go with my 2022 favorites. And this is The Edge of Summer by Viola Shipman. Now, the first thing I want to say about this, and I am going to go to my notes, is Viola Shipman is the pen name for the internationally best-selling author Wade Rouse. I am just floored by that. This isn't the first book I've read by Viola Shipman, but our author is male, and this women's fiction book is top of the line. Top of the line. It's full of messages. I'm going to tell you a couple of the messages, and then I'll tell you what the book is about. First, I want to get a piece of hair out of my eye. Sorry about that. First, it's about family history, about family in general, about secrets and lies of the past and how it affected our main character, and the underlying thought of it is sewing in buttons. Okay? Now, our character in this book, her name is Sutton Douglas. She grew up poor in Missouri with the story that there was a house fire that took all of her family members, and the only survivors was her and her mother when she was very small. So therefore, she had no other family for decades. She just had her mother. Well, her mother got injured and ended up in the hospital, and then she went into rehab for recovery, and then she came down with COVID-19. And then sadly, she passed away. So Sutton had questions that were never answered her entire life, and now she's grieving the loss of her mother. Now, the story doesn't take place right after Sutton's mother passes away. In fact, it kind of pushes to 2 years in the future. But during that time when she lost her mother, she went into herself. She went into a huge depression. She didn't get out of bed for weeks, if not months. Sorry, I'm just trying to make room for a cat. He's trying to jump up here. And she just could not get off of her feet. But the thing is, she grew up to become a designer because her mother was a designer, and she specialized in buttons. In fact, every chapter, just gonna grab my Kindle. I love how every chapter of this book opens, and I don't have the book ready, so just bear with me. I may even start this video up if my Kindle wants to go slow. The Edge of Summer, because Kindle fires are notoriously slow. All right, so what I like about this book is, like, if I go to the table of contents, okay, every chapter has kind of, I wouldn't say a theme, but a specific layout. Like, let's go to chapter 1, Bumble Bunching. And then let's jump over to another chapter, Notions for chapter 2. And I'll go 1 or 2 more, because I'm not prepared for this. I always wing it in my reviews. Chapter 3, Zigzag Stitch. Now, this is where I was really able to get into this story. In fact, there's a reader's guide at the end of the book, like if you were going to use this book for a book club. And in that reader's guide, we learn a little bit more about why Wade Rouse, or Viola Shipman, wrote this book, and why these chapters are named the way they are. Now, let's talk a little bit about Sutton and her mother. Like I said, when she was growing up, her mother told her that there was a terrible house fire, and it was just the two of them. But once her mother passed away, Sutton started to dig into her history, because the very first thing Sutton always wanted to know was who her father was and why he wasn't in their lives. So she's digging into her family history, and when she's dealing in this family history, she starts to find things that were secrets, if not lies, about when she was growing up. Now, I'm just scrolling for a second here because I don't want to. Another thing about this book is why it was written. Yeah, we're going to get back to Sutton. I'm sorry. Viola Shipman / Wade Rouse wrote this book to honor his grandmothers who were seamstresses. And in this book, Sutton's mother was a seamstress, and Sutton also was one and became a designer. Okay, so there was the author's personal life coming into this story. And as it did this, there was a lot of questions that would come up. Now, Sutton met somebody. She got a designer job. And this designer job that she had, it had a lot of zeros at the end, but it had a lot more. It had a lot more because her family history started to shine through. And not even in the most pleasant of ways, but in a way that answered questions that she had her whole life. And that closure that she needed when she lost her mother was finally coming to fruition. It's a very heartbreaking story, no doubt about that. And it's a heartbreaking story because you, as a reader, you wish that Sutton had gotten these answers from her mother. But even though she didn't get these answers from her mother, you can see that incredible sadness that she had for not getting these answers. But you also see the great love she had for her mother. Now, let's personalize this book, okay? If this book is about family history, family, and mysteries that come in certain families, then how would this book impact the reader? And like I said at the beginning of this review, this is one of the most impactful books that I have read, if not the most impactful book I have read this year. Well, you can't, I don't think many readers cannot place themselves into the body of a book or a story. So when you're going into the story, you start thinking about, okay, we're going to make this about me. I start thinking about my relationship with my mother, how I also lost my mother, but for different reasons. It was the big C, not COVID, but the other big C, okay? And then there's a question in the discussion questions about relationships with our parents. I'm just moving this because I have a cat. Did my relationship with my mother change? Okay. Now, just parallel our character Sutton with ourselves when we're reading the story. Then, if my relationship with my mother changed, like Sutton's relationship with her mother changed, especially when she suddenly lost her mother, did that change her view of her mother? Did that change my view of my mother when my relationship with her changed? I love that this author wrote this book so that it's so easy to parallel our personal situations, okay? Now, in this book, Sutton lost her mother to COVID. Well, our author lost his his father-in-law and some friends to COVID. So he was writing from a personal experience of pain and sadness. And then the other thing is Sutton had to ask herself, especially with the change of circumstances when she got the newest designer job that she had, was she unworthy of love on a broader scale when it came to family? Now, I'm just going to check something really quick because I know I read one book by Viola Shipman, but I want to see if I read any more. No, just one. I might have been two. I don't know. It looks like I read The Clover Girls, but I feel like there was another one. So we're just going to go to the biography page on Goodreads because I have to recommend this reader. The Clover Girls, The Secret of Snow, The Heirloom Garden, and this one, The Edge of Summer. I gave two of those books 4 stars. I gave The Clover Girls 5 stars, and I'm giving this book 5 stars. I just had to check that really quickly. Okay, so this book was just so good. I haven't written my review yet. Don't really have really comprehensive notes, but I just wanted to tell you how I felt about this book. And one way that this book was a parallel to me is sewing is the theme of this book, and sewing does thread each chapter of this story together. Well, my mother sewed. She made clothes. I even have pictures of me as a child in clothes that my mother made me when I was growing up. My mother was an embroiderer. She was an oil painter. She was a knitter, a crocheter. She did all of these crafts. Well, our author, Viola Shipman / Wade Rouse, his grandmothers were crafty like that. So that's where you look at the value of a story like this. A story that's so well told, so easy to emote, to create a situation where you fit right into it. So well done. I'm just so impressed. I'm very, very, very impressed. Very, very happy that I read it. Very, very moved by it. The conclusion just broke my heart and made me smile at the same time, because Sutton found that closure that she needed. And along the way, there was a man that came into Sutton's life. Now, this is more like a cozy romance because it's all closed door. The romance is the last part of the story. But the fact is, there's a romance threaded into this emotional story. And that's why the ending just, there was a sad point in the ending and then a very happy. And if I knew how to do a heart, that's how I felt at the end. So there you have it, The Edge of Summer by Viola Shipman. Thank you for watching. I hope that you get this book. So I just checked. You can get this on your Kindle store for $11.99. It's a great in-house publication. But what I did is, because this book came out July 12th and I didn't read it until yesterday, I was able to get it from my library via Hoopla. So check out your local library so that you can get it online. If you can't get it that way, you can get it by Audible, Barnes & Noble, whatever way you buy books. But I highly recommend this book. Very, very good, emotional, well done story where you truly are drawn in and captivated by it. So thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.